Trusting yourself begins in the mind. It's not about arrogance or ignoring advice. It's about learning to silence the voice that says, you can't, and turning up the volume on the one that says, try. Every great leap forward starts with a thought. And that thought, when believed, becomes fuel. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. Self-trust isn't built in comfort. It's forged in conflict. You don't wake up one day suddenly confident in who you are. You decide minute by minute to push back against the thoughts trying to bury your potential. There's a war going on inside most people, not the kind that others can see, but the kind that plays out in silence, in early mornings and late nights. The war of indecision. The voice that says, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if they don't believe in me? That voice might be loud, but it's not the truth. It's fear disguised as logic. It tries to dress itself up as caution or practicality, but its only job is to paralyze you. And the longer you entertain it, the more power it gains. The battle begins in the mind. To trust yourself is to rewire that internal conversation. It's to stop waiting for clarity to take the first step. Clarity doesn't always come before movement. It often follows it. You have to move even when the voice in your head is telling you to stay still. You have to act even when you're uncertain. Confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from doing the thing you were scared to do and realizing you survived. Then you do it again. And again. And before long, you've built a quiet kind of strength that doesn't need applause or validation. Too many people are waiting for permission to believe in themselves, waiting for someone to notice them, affirm them, endorse them. But what if that day never comes? What if the validation you're waiting for is buried under years of inaction? Trusting yourself means stepping out even when the room is silent. It means showing up even when no one claps. Because the truth is, every dream is fragile in its early stages. Not because it lacks power, but because it depends on your consistency, and your consistency depends on your mindset. Your thoughts create the atmosphere in which your potential either flourishes or fades. Think about that. Your thoughts, not your talent, not your resources, not your background. The quality of your inner conversation determines whether you fight or fold. You can have every skill, every gift, and still live in defeat if your mind is filled with doubt. And that's not because you're weak. It's because you haven't taken control of the narrative yet. Taking control means becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself when no one else is listening. Are you speaking life or defeat? Are you feeding your future or fueling your fears? You can't build greatness on top of a broken belief system. You have to do the inner work to repair the foundation. And that starts with choosing every day to trust the process, trust your growth, and trust your capacity to rise. You've been through enough to know what resilience looks like. You've survived moments you thought would break you. You've kept going on days when quitting felt easier. So why is it so hard to trust yourself now? Maybe because you've been conditioned to measure your worth through results, not resilience. But real strength doesn't show up in perfect outcomes. It shows up in the moments you kept pushing forward when nothing made sense. And if you can do that, you can trust that you've got what it takes to go further. But here's the challenge. Trusting yourself also means embracing responsibility. It means you stop blaming the past, stop waiting for rescue, stop shifting your power to someone else. That can be terrifying because now if things go wrong, it's on you. But that's where real freedom begins. When you stop outsourcing your confidence, you start walking in purpose. When you stop letting your doubts drive the car, you start steering toward your calling. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You just need to take the next right step. And then the one after that. It's not about giant leaps. It's about small, consistent acts of belief. Belief in your ability to grow. Belief in your right to be here. Belief that your voice, your vision, your presence matters. And the more you act on that belief, the more real it becomes. Remember, doubt may visit, but it doesn't have to live with you. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel uncertain and still make a decision. Courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's the ability to act despite it. That's what trusting yourself looks like. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet persistence. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed and choosing not to give up today. That's enough. That's power. That's strength. You don't need more proof. You've already lived it. Look back at your own story. Look at what you've overcome. The situations that should have broken you, but didn't. The moments when you had every reason to quit, but chose to stand. That's the evidence. That's the reminder. Your strength isn't hypothetical. It's historical. It's in your scars, your choices, your story. And if you could survive that, you can rise through this. The mind will try to forget your victories and obsess over your flaws. That's why you have to remind it. Every single day, you have to build a mental environment where belief grows. That might mean changing what you listen to, changing who you surround yourself with, changing the way you speak, even in private. Because your words create your world. And if you want a life built on self-trust, you've got to start laying bricks made of truth. Truth like, I am capable, I am worthy, I may not be perfect, but I am enough. These are not just affirmations, they're weapons. Weapons against the lies that say you'll never change, never succeed, never matter. The more you wield them, the stronger you become. And the stronger you become, the quieter doubt gets. No one else can fight this battle for you. This is your mind, your ground, your war. But it's also your victory waiting to be claimed. It begins in the decision to trust yourself, fully, unapologetically, and without delay. Not someday. Today. Not once you're confident. But now, when confidence is still being built. Because that's how it grows, through belief, through action, and through a mind that refuses to be defeated by fear. There are moments in life when the weight of circumstances feels unbearable. When the pressure mounts, the doubts get louder, and the challenges ahead seem to tower over every ounce of strength left inside. It's in those exact moments that we often question everything, our decisions, our worth, and most dangerously, our ability to overcome. But the truth is this: the strength you need is already within you. Your inner strength is greater than your current struggle. From the outside, people might not see the battle you're fighting. They may not recognize the silent wars you've endured, the silent tears you've cried, or the nights you've spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if things will ever get better. They may look at your calm face and never realize the storms that rage beneath the surface. But none of that means you're weak. In fact, the very act of continuing on, of standing when you want to collapse, of showing up when your heart is heavy, that is strength. Quiet, resilient, unshakable strength. The struggle you're facing right now isn't meant to destroy you. It's there to reveal to you just how much power you carry inside. You might not feel it yet. You might be looking at your circumstances and thinking, I can't handle this. This is too much. But you've already handled so much more than you give yourself credit for. You've made it through things that once looked impossible. You've survived pain that once made you question everything. You didn't just survive. You grew. You changed. You evolved. And here you are. When pressure builds in your life, it isn't always a sign that you're failing. It's often the signal that you're being refined. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Steel is forged in fire. You are not an exception to this truth. You're being strengthened by the struggle. It's uncomfortable, yes. It's painful, yes. But it's producing something in you. Resilience, clarity, focus, and above all, unshakable belief in yourself. That belief doesn't need to start as a roar. It can begin as a whisper. Maybe I can. That's enough. That whisper will grow into a voice, and that voice will become your anthem. Often we search for strength outside of ourselves. We look to people, to systems, to circumstances, hoping something out there will help us feel stronger. But the breakthrough begins when you look inward. When you start trusting that the answers you seek, the courage you need, and the energy to press forward, they're not in someone else's hands. They're in yours. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not defeated. You are capable of withstanding more than you think. There's a power that only awakens when you're pushed to your limit. It's a version of you that you haven't met yet, because they only show up when your back is against the wall. That version of you doesn't panic. That version of you doesn't quit. That version of you digs deep, focuses up, and decides that this isn't how the story ends. You may have felt hopeless, tired, and lost, but that version of you doesn't care how you feel. It cares that you finish. That's the part of you that says, no matter how hard it gets, I will not fold. Strength isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward even when fear is present. You don't need to be fearless to take the next step. You just need to be brave enough to trust that your next step matters. Every little effort, every small act of courage, every decision to keep going, it all counts. You're not expected to move mountains in a single day. You're just asked to show up even when your knees are shaking. That's how inner strength grows. Not from perfection, but from perseverance. People often confuse strength with loudness, but some of the strongest people in the world are the quietest. They endure without recognition. They fight battles without applause. They carry weights others never see. And yet they keep standing. That is strength. Not the strength that performs for approval, but the kind that survives in silence. The kind that doesn't need to be seen to be powerful. That's the strength that lives inside you, waiting to be acknowledged. And yes, there will be times when you feel like giving up. You'll feel like the effort isn't worth it, like the progress is too slow, like you're moving in circles. That's natural. That's human. But even in those moments, the fact that you feel that struggle means you're still in the fight. The pain is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're pressing against your limits. And the only way to grow is to press past those limits. So don't be ashamed of the struggle. Let it show you how far you've come and how far you're capable of going. This journey isn't about pretending everything's okay. It's not about fake smiles and forced positivity. It's about embracing reality, acknowledging the difficulty, and still choosing to rise. Real strength allows you to feel pain, to feel fear, and still take the next step. You're allowed to cry, to break down, to doubt. But what you're not allowed to do is quit on yourself. Not now. Not after everything you've overcome. Not when you're this close to becoming who you were created to be. No one can walk your path for you. No one can carry your burden the way you can. But you were made for this. You were designed to endure, built to overcome. You've already got everything you need inside you. It's time to trust that. It's time to stop waiting for a perfect moment or a perfect version of you to show up. The version of you that's struggling, they're strong. The version of you that's afraid, they're still courageous. The version of you that wants to give up, they're the one who's already proved they won't. You are not weak because you're tired. You are not lost because you're questioning. You're not broken because you feel overwhelmed. You are stronger than you think. And that strength will carry you through, not just this struggle, but everything that lies beyond it. Trusting yourself is not just a motivational phrase. It's a radical decision to rise above fear, doubt, and insecurity. At the core of this mindset is a shift from external validation to internal conviction. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough unless we meet a certain standard, reach a specific milestone, or receive applause from others. But trusting yourself means knowing that your worth isn't tied to people's opinions, circumstances, or the size of your achievements. It's about recognizing the power that's already within you, even when everything around you seems uncertain. When you trust yourself, you're not pretending to have all the answers. You're acknowledging that even in moments of confusion or vulnerability, you are capable of moving forward. Trust doesn't mean perfection, it means presence. It means showing up even when you feel afraid, making a decision even when you're unsure, and taking a step even when the path isn't clear. It's believing that something within you is stronger than the fear trying to stop you. Fear is loud. It screams worst-case scenarios. It echoes failures from the past and amplifies doubts about the future. It wants to paralyze you. But the truth is, fear only has power if you feed it. You don't overcome fear by trying to eliminate it. You overcome fear by walking forward anyway. When you trust yourself, you refuse to let fear dictate your direction. You may hear its voice, but you don't give it the microphone. You keep moving. There is a strength inside of you that hasn't even been fully tapped into yet. Most people never discover how strong they truly are because they stop at discomfort. They stop at the first no, the first failure, the first rejection. But pain is not your enemy. Discomfort is not your enemy. In fact, those things often serve as the gateway to growth. Trusting yourself means leaning into that discomfort, knowing it's shaping you. It's forging resilience, building character, and uncovering levels of strength you didn't know you had. You were created with intention. There is nothing accidental about your design. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you respond to challenges, all of it is part of your wiring. And when you start to trust yourself, you're not just trusting in your own mind or your own muscle. You're trusting in the blueprint you were created with. You're recognizing that your instincts matter. Your voice matters. Your decisions have value. You no longer second-guess everything because you realize the one voice you've been ignoring, your own, deserves to be heard. But trusting yourself also means being patient with yourself. Growth doesn't happen overnight. Strength isn't built in a moment, it's forged over time through struggle and through perseverance. You will fall. You will fail. You will have moments of uncertainty. But none of those things disqualify you. In fact, they prepare you. They sharpen your discernment. They teach you what works and what doesn't. They remind you that progress isn't always visible. but it is always happening. The greatest battles you will ever fight are the ones in your own mind. That's where insecurity breeds. That's where imposter syndrome takes root. That's where the comparison trap ensnares you. But trusting yourself is how you fight back. It's how you take the power back from all those false narratives that try to convince you that you're too broken, too late, too flawed, or too far behind. You silence those lies not with arrogance, but with assurance. Assurance that even if you're still growing, still learning, still healing, you are still worthy. You are still strong. Confidence isn't built by waiting until you're perfect. It's built by moving while you're in progress. Every step you take in alignment with your purpose adds a layer to your confidence. Every decision you make despite doubt proves to yourself that you can trust your instincts, and over time, that trust becomes unshakable. You don't need everyone to understand your path. You don't need everyone to agree with your choices. When you trust yourself, you stop outsourcing your confidence to others. And yes, people may not always support you. They may doubt your vision. They may criticize your steps. But their opinion does not define your ability. Their doubt does not discredit your potential. If anything, it gives you an opportunity to double down on your trust in yourself. You were not made to play small just because someone else lacks the capacity to see your greatness. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You need courage, and courage starts with trust. There is no breakthrough without boldness, and boldness is the byproduct of self-trust. It's what gives you the freedom to try something new, to speak your truth, to walk away from what's familiar in order to chase what's purposeful. It's what allows you to take risks, because you believe that even if you fall, you'll rise again. You trust your bounce back. You trust your grit. You trust the process. No one else can do this work for you. You can be surrounded by inspiration, read the books, hear the messages, and still stay stuck if you don't decide to trust the person staring back at you in the mirror. That's where the real shift happens. Not in the noise, but in the stillness. In the quiet moments when you choose to say, "I've got this," even if no one else says it to you. When you declare, "I am capable," even while trembling, that's when trust starts to take root. Not in perfection, but in presence. So when fear rises, when doubts whisper, when failure tries to write your story, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself that you've made it through too much to doubt your strength now. You've overcome storms you thought would break you. You've rebuilt from ruins. You've stood up after falling more times than you can count. That's not weakness. That's evidence. Evidence that you are stronger than you think. Evidence that you can trust the journey. Evidence that you can trust yourself.